for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network.
All right. Well, Fade to Black. Yeah. Today is Monday, October 27, 2025. Let's do this, man. Yeah. Excited. Yeah. This week on Fade to Black. Tonight, the Leo King is here. David Palmer. Yes, 3i Atlas. Tomorrow night, Brooke Ashley is here. The history of Halloween. Wednesday night, we've got a 3i Atlas special because that is October 29th, the day of the arrival. And then Thursday night, our annual Halloween special event. Once again this year and every year, Jim Harold is with us. The Paranormal Podcast, The Campfire, Jim Harold, one of the leading tippity-top podcasters in the world. Jim Harold, he's been doing this for a long time, and it's always great each Halloween when he is here. And that is our week on Fade to Black. This is a crazy time right now. And I wanted to bring in not only the very best with David Palmer, but a close friend and somebody that I trust. And I value his opinion, and his knowledge of astrology is there. It's solid, and we all love that about David. But it's a historical event. It's a deep history, the geopolitical side of deep history through today, and the influence of cosmology and what goes on in our star system and the universe that influence a lot of events. And right now, we are at a very historical time. And I truly mean this. We can go back, and I'm going to do this tonight with David, but we can go back deep into the historical record. And many anthropologists and archaeologists do this, where they go and they look at writings, they look at cave paintings, carvings, statues, all kinds of things for different celestial events that are marked on these calendars and stories to help pinpoint, because we know the timing of certain things that happen throughout our star system. And I'm specifically speaking about comets, but we also have, supernovas that happen in the sky, and when they happen and when they pop up in the historical record, it allows us to align the calendars. But then look at the events that happen around the world at that time when these different events happen. Well, we're in the middle of that right now. I don't believe, I can ask David about this. I don't believe this has ever happened before, where we have not one comet's a big deal. 2 comets, extraordinary. 3 objects around our planet at the same time. 2 are confirmed comets. 1 may not be. How crazy is this? And it's happening all at the same time. I've been going outside every night, looking up at the sky. You can now see these things with the naked eye. You can't see 3i Atlas yet, but and take pictures. Last year when I photographed comets with my phone, I saw them better on my phone than I did with the naked eye. You can see with the naked eye. But now it's like cooler with the naked eye to just look up at the Big Dipper, and it's extraordinary. But we are doing 3 objects in the sky at the same time. October 29th is coming up. That is this Wednesday, and then Thursday is the 30th. So wow, what is going to happen? What is going to be revealed? Well, tonight, David, the Leo King Palmer, is going to be decoding that arrival of interstellar object 3i Atlas. We're going to talk about not only what it is, but its astrological meaning. what's the effect on Earth, a spiritual awakening, our consciousness? We're going to be talking about all of that tonight with David, the Leo King Palmer. All of his links are below. Everything that you need to get to David and see all of his work, it's right there. But I would like to welcome back to Faded Black my good friend, David Palmer. He's right there. What's going on, young man?
What's up? Good to be back on the show.
Is that it? No, put your phone down and look at me. This is dinner time. I'm being a dad. I'm being a dad right now. Put your phone down, young man.
I don't actually have a phone. My camera's a little higher than the screen. But we're good.
Are you anticipating doing that with Aurora anytime soon? Honey, no phones at the dinner table. Are you going to be like that?
I mean, especially now with what's happening with this generation that we've seen behind mine with phones. Yeah. Good thing she's not into the phone. She was at like 1 just to kind of like, oh, we're at dinner, put on something. She's kind of tripping out, but now that she's 2.5, she doesn't care about the phone. I'm like, thank God.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Something's changed in her DNA. I'm going to throw you under the bus before we get to 3i Atlas, because I'm sure that you've got a lot of your fans and your people here in the chat tonight and listening to the show. So first off, in the interest of transparency to those that may not know, you and I are very close friends, right? Period.
Yes.
Right? We're close friends. And this is what David did to me this week, everybody. I'm going to throw him under the bus. This is what he did. This is what a good friend does. I get a text. From David. Got a bunch of texts from David, and stuff. I open up this text. And don't say what it is, David. I'm just going to say these words. It's a picture of a car. And David, it's my dream car that David and I have been talking about now for the last couple of years, right? Yeah, that's accurate. And so he sends me a picture of this car at a dealership. And he goes, hey, bro, I was going to buy this for you today, but I didn't. And I'm like, wait, what? Why send the text then? Why send the text? Why do you do that? Wait, no, either you say, happy birthday, look what I just bought you, or don't send the text. You can't send that. I was going to, but here it is. So that's my good friend, David. Man, I know
it's pretty screwed up thinking back at it. Because it's not like it was just any dark horse. It was like one you would buy, like the color, every option, you don't see them. And I just happened to be at the Ford dealer, and I'm just like, Jimmy Church. And I just took the picture, and I didn't think much. I was like, hey, I know it's your birthday. I was thinking about getting you this for your birthday. Hope you've been well.
But see, here's the thing about you, David. And just so everybody should know, you have the biggest heart. You're one of the coolest dudes. And if somebody was going to buy me something like that, it would be you.
It would be. I am that person.
Yeah. You are. But not this time. Not this time. I was going to, but I didn't. Happy birthday, bro. Just like, what the hell, man? Oh man, we're gonna laugh about that in 10 years. We're gonna really laugh about that. I've got to screenshot that text and save it. One day I'm gonna post it on social media.
And it wasn't AI; it was legit. I was at the dealer, and it was legit. Like
it was
just
a real text.
took it.
Yeah. It was a real text. It was a real text. Do you want to take it back? You want to take the text back? I'll edit this out of the show.
Well, I have to go back to that dealer, so I'll see if they still got it. See what I could pull off.
Yeah, we'll see. I mentioned this at the intro of the show. 3 celestial objects at the same time. Historically, this is what you do. Has this ever happened before?
So there's been incidents like this, but nothing like this. And what I mean by that is, take 1054, for example. It's the year of the Great Schism in the church that we know today as the Catholic Church splitting from the Eastern Orthodox Church. And we have the biggest supernova recorded on record. Okay. And at that time, people in the North didn't record it. but all of China did. People in North America today, Native American tribes recorded it. So we know it happened. It was so visible, it was in the middle of the day. And at that same time, there was many planetary aspects happening. And the Chinese did a really good job of actually recording comets better than anybody in history. So I just want to make that one straight. But we've had a lot of incidents where comets, what they represent in astrology are situations that they are predictable once we track it enough and we understand the transits of it and we can finally understand those cycles. But when they're new, they're unpredictable. They come not from any kind of same angle, right? They just show up out of nowhere and then they get closest to the sun and that's where they heat up, and then we judge it based off the tail. So if there's 3 tails or 2 tails or a weak tail, that's bad luck. That's what's been over the last 2,000-3,000 years of recorded comet history, is how well is the tail? If the tail's not strong, if it's broken up, bad news for the planet. So we've got a lot of data with this, but what makes now different is this is an interstellar object that's being observed by, scientists as a comet because they don't really know what it is, but it's not acting like a comet. We were able to see it farther out than where we can normally see comets. Comets are about 5 AU away, right? And even closer. So basically where Jupiter's orbit out is, that's usually when comets are starting to form because they're getting closer to the sun. 3A Atlas already was emitting light and was able to be seen by July 1st. Mm-hmm. And that's what's wild is also the trajectory, especially as an astrologer. Nothing comes on the ecliptic plane of the planets. Nothing. Comets come from zenith, north, or south. They come from multi-crazy directions. They pass through and look like nothing. Asteroids, they don't look like planetary connected at all. It feels like they're super separate. What's crazy about 3A Atlas, it's the most in alignment with the planets than any other object that as an astrologer for thousands of years we've all been studying, except for Chiron, the asteroid discovered in 1977 that orbits the sun. It's in between Saturn and Uranus that it goes by. That's the closest object. But again, it goes into ice and then it burns the ice off. But that's it. There's nothing else that's been this powerful and transformational on our ecliptic plane. And what's radical about it is it's passing all these planets in such a short amount of time. And the fact as well, too, that its speed and how big it is, I mean, to me, it almost kind of feels like, in many ways, we don't know what it is fully yet, right? That's the irony. But it could be anything from, what does maybe a planet from a rogue planet that's forming look like as it goes around and takes a tour around our multiverse, to any of the above aspects. But the idea of it being a full comet at this point, I mean, it comes from another place that's twice as old as us. So I find it really interesting as an astrologer because anytime we have an anomaly like the 1054 supernova, that changed the world. We call that year the Great Schism. And it's weird because the North didn't record it. So the churches didn't want people to know about it, even though they could see it in front of their face, which was really weird, right?
Yeah, there were reports back then when that happened. Very few, but there's a new star, right? That's what, man, I can understand that. But to them, it was that extraordinary. There was a new star and it was showing up in daytime.
Yeah. And then it showed up for almost 6 months to a year at night. You could still see it. So after the 3 weeks in the day, right, as bright as you could see the sun, and then you can only see that thing. Mm-hmm. Then it continued. So it didn't go away, but it was wild that the powers that be that were in the north, the churches, were like acting like nothing big deal was happening, but in the coins, which is really weird. They put it in the coins, and that was their way of like saying we saw it without writing about it, which is so weird to me.
Now, what some of the things that are extraordinary about this? I mean, there isn't anything comet-like that we normally associate with comets to go on with it. And we have two comets in the sky right now. We can look.
Right.
Those are comets. You look at those, and those are comets. Very 3i Atlas isn't doing any of that. Of course, coming in on the ecliptic is bizarre. The timing of the alignment of the planets is pretty bizarre. Its speed is way bizarre. It's hauling balls, and it's 250,000 miles per hour, which is just insane to wrap your head around. But perihelion happens October 29th. And what do we do if that thing makes a move, like it turns?
Right. So that's
it slows down. Something that naturally shouldn't happen at all. What I mean, holy crap, right? What if something like that actually happens?
Yeah, because that's it. What's interesting is if we think about the planets, what makes astrology, and even just anybody who's an astronomer so fascinated by the planets, is their perfect math, their perfect transits. They're more predictable than anything on Earth, right? Like we can predict a new moon. We can predict an eclipse. We can predict Jupiter when it's in conjunction with Saturn. We can predict it out every 20 years. We can see we know the math. If this thing changes course, that's an anomaly of something we don't see. We don't see that, which only can lead to, one, we don't know everything about our universe, and two, that's not natural, period. Because the way that it's from the study as an astrologer, or if you're looking at astrophysics, it's pretty predictable the way the universe works when it comes to bodies, right? Even asteroids like have their path, and we can go and judge, hey, this thing's gonna get close to Earth, but it's not gonna make any crazy turn on us. Right? It's going to pass Earth. It's not going to hit us. Comets are the same way. We can trace the path, and then whether it's Hale-Bopp, whether it's Halley's Comet, we can go, okay, it's on this cycle, and it'll come back around, and we can look at our watches 100 years, 600 years later, whatever, and go, here it is. It's back. We've never seen anything like this before. And I think it's good to get an astrologer's opinion because we're the ones that track the tracking of things the most as far as cycles and paying attention to them 24/7. So for us, we're like, this is radical. This is like what last time I was on the show, I went back, this is what I predicted. The 2025, when I was predicting this year, this would be the year something would show up, whether it was a planet, like a planet X, or something that would give everybody's attention to go, something's not natural here to describe the origins of humanity. Because I think that's the question with 3i Atlas. For us in our human origin, we connect with these planets. We connect with our moon, even though a lot of us have questions about the moon. We don't really connect with that one fully. But, the planets and their relationship and their transits and their predictability and our lunar cycles, we connect with those. Even comets, even Mark Twain came with a comet, even wrote, I'm going to leave with the Hale-Bopp, right? And then left, right? So it's really interesting that this is something that comes out of nowhere. I did my own, right when it popped up, I went into JPL and I switched the trajectory and everything and all the math, and I put it into tropical geo-based astrology. And so then I went backwards and I went, is this thing connected to 2020? There was major comet that year, by the way, too, during the pandemic, right? But what was weird was we had the Saturn and Pluto conjunction. I've talked about it on the show many times. I went, was 3i Atlas, because we had the math finally, connected or close by Saturn and Pluto on January 12th, 2020. That started the whole pandemic. Guess what? It was at the exact same degree. So this thing...
What about...
I'm not kidding, dude.
Dude, it's blowing my mind. And so we have the other part of this, we have 3i Atlas, but we also have Swan and Lemon at the same time. Now, doesn't that elevate it to crazy town?
Yeah, because for those that want to understand when something gets closest to the sun and we're on the other side, you have to look at it as like, it's exactly on the other side of the sun right now as Earth aligned, right? So what makes this crazy is as this is happening, these comets over these last month and a half have just kind of popped up and showed up close by these inner planets. As 3A Atlas interstellar object, twice as old system-wise, they're gauging maybe 1 million years it could have taken to get here. Happens to be at the same moment in our inner solar system, right by, just went over Mars. Now it's right up us, literally right across from us on the other side of the sun. And Mercury's there, Venus is there on the other side. It's really wild to me because this is getting like, why are now out of nowhere new comets showing up? There's something, everything's trying to pay attention, or everything's coming here for some reason. Right now. And the astrology always predicted that this was going to be these times right now. But to me, it's like a messenger. It's like a wake up. It's like, and I'm going to drop some bombs on this show that I think are positive for people about it. Because I don't think that what's going to happen on October 29th, except for if it changes trajectory or at least even speed or direction, that's what we're going to get mainly. The bigger thing is when you look at the months ahead and when it gets towards Jupiter, if it stays on its track, is if you look in the history of astronomers, or especially if you even think of going back to the starry messenger, 1613 and Galileo, his study of the moon in that book was also him looking at Jupiter, and then of course he saw Jupiter's moons, right? And this is before telescopes were around. Let's not forget, Galileo was pretty on top of his stuff.
He was.
They also traced back from the journals that he was the discoverer of Neptune without knowing it, because Jupiter was exactly in alignment with Neptune in 1613 when he was looking at Jupiter's moons. So there's a possibility that he also saw Neptune with his little telescope. It might have been a lot more powerful than we thought. But what's interesting is we always discover more in our solar system when we're looking at Jupiter. So same thing happened with Jupiter, Saturn that happened in the 60s, and then when we rolled into the 70s, we discovered Chiron. Okay? So there's something, now every telescope, every human being with a telescope, especially as we get into December and January, we're going to be able to see it if you have a telescope, but we're going to be looking straight at Jupiter. Like nobody's talking about, or Avi Loeb hasn't talked about yet, that we are going to be looking right at Jupiter, and all these planets, Mars and Venus, are going to be on the exact other side of the sun as we come to that point, and everything's going to be in alignment. I wish I could show people the chart. It's insane in the 3D helio chart. The cosmos are going to be rocking from now until January like you've never seen in history. And it's like, we always see something when we're looking at Jupiter for too long with our telescopes. We always do. So 3A Atlas could be more than just what it is, but the messenger to have us look somewhere to discover something else too.
Let's peel back some layers on this. One of the things that stood out for me, now, everybody, whenever I have any questions like this, I call David. I need to, he can look up at the sky and point out individual stars. We've done this so many times, and explain what is going on. I'm better at it, but I have a telescope. David has been to my house. I have all the gear. I've got the night vision. I've got binoculars. I've got this. And I'm always looking up at the sky. This is one of those events that everybody is doing what I'm doing right now and doing what you're talking about. We have so many amateur things going on. And one of the things on July 1st was that 3-eye atlas was illuminated. We saw it when it popped out from behind Jupiter. And from the very first images and the comments that astronomers and amateur astronomers were making was that it was lit up on the front.
Mm-hmm.
How strange is that, that it was illuminated on the front? From the word go, right? From Jump Street, this was not a comet. And to be illuminated like that, not illuminated from the sun, self-illuminated.
Yeah.
Extraordinary.
Yeah, because it's extraordinary too, because it came from where galactic center is in the south, declination-wise, right? So that's, of course, we see Antares down there, right? The Great Red Giant, our biggest sun in our Milky Way. But we also see so much activity of just the understanding of our Milky Way galaxy, right? Like there's just so much happening. So for them to see that through the thickest of what stars you could see, shooting stars, every object that when you're looking down south there, that's where you could see everything.
There's like
basically.
you can see 8 galaxies with the naked eye in the southern hemisphere.
Right. So the fact that it came from there, and that's what made me do the math to go, there's no way, but I have a hunch this thing was exactly in the place of what started the pandemic. It was. And so now I'm going, there has to be a cosmic, there's got to be some sort of intelligence with this, because there's too much math that's, to me, perfect, right? It's like, if I could create something to come into our solar system and be literally at our same ecliptic, right? Like with all the planets, and to show up at the time when planet Earth is ready for disclosure. Right. People are over the governments. And this is what's weird is in history, you see all these kind of things where the people are at when these anomalies and these big things start showing up. We're used to supernovas or comets and stuff. Interstellar objects, this is now the next round. I love it.
So here's the big question. Do you think it's ET?
If it was, it's probably us from the past.
That's not the question.
Right, but
it's either, David, it's either natural or not.
I'm saying it's not. I'm saying it's not natural.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I really don't.
I've never seen anything ever come in to the solar system. And you know what's great about math and technology today? You can run every object that we've known about, that we've, whether we caught it over the last 50 years or not, and we finally tracked it, and we understand the orbit. You can run that through everything, and you can go through thousands of years, and you can see everything and what it's like in our solar system, and let the planets rotate, and let everything rotate, and let everything come in, and watch comets come in and out, and watch asteroids, and watch all these things. Never have you seen anything like this be a straight line from, and this connects kind of to the ancient stuff with, especially, where is 3 Atlas going? It's going into Cancer. It's going to where Sirius B is. It's going to where the Egyptian pyramids point. It's going in the direction where all the ancients point their pyramids. So to me, I go, there has to be something about what the ancients have been talking about forever that's connected to this. That's where I'm going with the unnatural part, because it's like, where we know where it came from. It's going from the galactic center to the other side of the galaxy, right? Like, that's what's so interesting. It's also going in the opposite direction of the planet. So it's technically retrograde, right? Like, so it's going the opposite direction. right? So all the planets turn one way around the sun. It's going the direction the other way. And it's just like beaming through the planets, right? It looked like it was so funny when I looked at it in July. I was like, this thing looks like it's just going to hop over Mars, right? And then it's
And
just
it
like,
did.
and it did. But it's just like, and what's crazy is right after we see in the next couple of days when it gets closest to the sun, not many people are talking. That's when it's going to hit exactly the exact same ecliptic degree as the Earth, the inner planets, everything, and the sun. Like it's going to be right on the same level with all of us perfect. That's what the beginning of November is.
God, that's insane to me. And when you back out, and I had Lawrence Krauss on the show. I keep bringing this up. I had Lawrence Krauss on the show a couple of weeks ago talking about 3i Atlas. And look, he is world-renowned physicist, written some great books, and he's up there with the best of the best and stuff. And I got to hand it to him. He came on this show. Yeah, he knew. And so anyway, he absolutely dismisses anything that takes him off of his road. He don't want to hear it. Don't want to hear it. It's just no, because of the blinder. But when we start talking about the size of the universe, and this is what I brought up with him, the size of the universe and how tiny we are, the Milky Way, and then inside of the Milky Way, us and our stars, when you think about the ginormity of the universe, and then this object tracks past us and our sun, what are it could just 1/millionth of a degree and it misses us completely, right? It seems very, 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 very targeted and on purpose. And I don't think that is a crazy thought. Krauss just dismisses that. For it to be on the exact ecliptic of us is extraordinary, isn't it?
Right.
I mean, what are the odds of that, David?
I think Avi Loeb does say it best, whether it's 1 in 500 or 1 in 2000. If you look at how the planets align, there's so many cycles that take a long time. And for anything to just go, yeah, I'm just going to check everything out. I'm going to get really close by. And I'm going to, right, and just be, and the other thing is, I was just watching this movie. It's like #1 on Netflix right now. It's about an ICBM going off.
Oh,
right?
I saw that. House of Dynamite.
Right, and that whole like trying to hit a bullet with a bullet idea.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Which is exactly makes a lot more sense to me of like, yeah, right. They say they'll shoot that down. Yeah, okay, good luck. That's the same thing of like, this thing's like a bullet and somebody pointed it and went not like, kind of hit anywhere, but like as the best target, like with a scope ever to go through our inner planets, go right by our sun with us on the exact other side, and then even go towards Jupiter as it's literally in an area for where the ancients point everything at the star systems that it's going towards. Okay, right? Exactly, like perfect. Nothing's done that. Done that.
It's not. I was texting a friend of ours today, Lisa, by the way. She says hi. And we're texting back and forth. And she's going, so, I'm a little freaked out. Should I get some extra food and water? I said, I'll just come to my place. It's safe up here, right? And she goes, I just might do that. And but the funny thing about that is the way that she texted. There's an awareness on this planet right now and about this object. I'm not so sure if it would be as newsworthy in the past like it is now because of disclosure and what is going on. Let's say everything happens. It changes speed. It changes trajectory. It does it. It does it. And will the government, will there be an official, if it turns out to be artificial, do they take that plunge? And because of all the amateur astronomers looking at it, can they lie when we have all this, all this extra eyes on it?
I mean, I think it's really weird the government shut down right as it did cross over Mars. Thank God we have the Europeans to show us a picture, but we have better pictures, and we're not. And it's not even just NASA, right? It's like NASA then has an astronomer and his telescope take, okay, he has the picture, but it's like a PR thing. Like, well, the government shut down, so we can't talk to the PR NASA team how we want to put this out. What?
Well, but we have NRO satellites, NSA satellites, right. We have all the censored data and collection.
They're not turning off NASA stuff right now with the shutdown.
No. But
so already, this is already testing the grounds that you're talking about. That people, I think, need to witness in themselves. Go, they're already playing the government shut down. The government's not shut down when it comes to all the technologies and all of their look on. It's not like, we're not going to see if a comet's going to, just come by. Or especially the Asteroid Warning International Network got turned on. I mean,
and what about the James Webb? Now it's pointed in the other direction. Are they going to be able to image it with the James Webb? I would think that they would be all over it.
I mean, because early on it did kind of helped a little bit, right? Especially getting to the core of there's not any iron, it's nickel, that's what we make Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 are nickel, and we have to separate that from iron. So the idea that comets have iron, because in nature, to get nickel, it's with iron. In order on Earth, when we started realizing iron was more flexible, and remember that astrology is connected with alchemy and metals. Mm-hmm. So you have to remember that with iron, to get nickel, you have to separate the nickel and the iron in it. And for humans to do it, it's an extremely difficult process. It's not like you just do it in a lab in your house, right? So to get just pure nickel and separate it from the iron to make it more flexible and stuff is a process. So for the fact that this thing's not showing iron, which it should if it has nickel, unless it's mimicking what we do on Earth, which is man-made.
Wasn't there a mention of aluminum too as well?
Yeah, I mean, it's also interesting. It's a lot of CO2 with a little bit of water, right? So it's not but what's crazy in alchemy, and I don't know if you know this about nickel, that's not part of the alchemical original science in metals. But when it was discovered in the 1750s, they called it devil's copper nickel. And I just think that's really interesting because it's not natural, right? The idea of to create just nickel, it has to be separated alchemically speaking. So what makes it weird is, why is it only tracing out nickel? That means something unnaturally is separating it from iron.
A propulsion system? I don't know.
That, or it's wrapped in nickel, right? That. What's weird is Voyager 1 and Voyager 2, which are out of our solar system, out of the heliopause and everything. The timing of all these events, Oumuamua in 2017, same time we get pictures of Pluto in 2018, right? It's everything is lining up with finally to this event. And I think that when you look at history, these are the events that, okay, the church is separated. Okay, but that was a big deal 1,000 years ago, right? And they haven't come back together since. The Eastern Orthodox Church is still doing its thing, and the Catholic Church. But I don't know if you just saw last week, Charles III, the King of the United Kingdom, went to the Vatican for the first time, a monarch since Henry VIII. The exact same astrology as this last week was when he got excommunicated, Henry VIII, from the Catholic Church and married Anne Boleyn and left the Catholic Church. The same freaking astrology, exact, dude, exact. It took this long, and now Charles III went back to the Catholic Church last week and was with the Pope with a divorced wife, just like the astrology of 1533.
Is it because of aliens? I mean, is it
well,
really?
no,
I mean,
so
you understand
yes,
what I'm saying? It's like
yes,
everything's
that
timed.
I think it's more than the PR of the government. I think it's the religious institutions are getting together, because I don't know if you saw too, the Templar Knights showed up at the Vatican now too in May, and now they're showing up, and now that's like 800 years of history with that. So that's now chill, and 490 years of the Church of England and the Anglican Church being separated. Now you have Charles the King just in this last week. Right? Henry's in his grave right now.
Going, what?
What? With his gout.
Yes,
China.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? Right?
Yeah,
And so it's like, but to me, I'm like, okay. One, it's the same astrology, which is mind-blowing. Mind-blowing. Like, to get Pluto at the same spot and Neptune at the same spot is very rare. Those are the two farthest planets out. Last time that happened was 1533 July of this last 2 weeks. The same thing of the excommunication and the separation beginning, and the Anne Boleyn secret wedding, and Henry being like, all right, I'm free. We could do this. We could leave them. Now Charles is going back. But to me, it's like, why are they all coming back together? It's like, to me, it's the church PR, right? So the Catholic Church, then you have the Anglican Church of England, which people forget the monarch is the head of the church because of that big change back then. So you have the heads of the biggest churches getting together and letting 500 years of separation and excommunication and not talking to each other. No big deal.
Yeah, and secret societies,
correct. And then the Templar Knights, after all, 1307 and all that happened there. Oh, no problem. Come back. And they invited them in the Vatican. And they willingly walked in there with their red crosses, like in their white gowns and stuff. Like, yeah, let's go back in the Vatican.
Yeah, Friday the 13th. It's okay. It's in the past.
So there's something going on where it's like, we have governments, obviously, with a lot of issues, and none of them are being addressed on the people level. So that's a sign. Are they going to address to the people what we need to hear about what's going on up there?
Here's why I say yes. You want to hear it?
Yeah, I would love to hear it.
I'd love to hear your opinion. This is how David and I talk when we're alone, by the way. It's the same conversation. It's the same conversation. Is this, there isn't a better way to cover up bullshit than with other big news.
That's
right?
Very true.
If you just mash everything down, what if you really want to just hide all of the drama? ETs are here. That'll cover up the headlines, won't it?
Yeah, and all the problems, big problems. Affordability, food,
economy,
poverty,
jobs,
economy, jobs,
war.
I know, war, all of it.
Yeah.
And that's where, you know what? I agree with you, because it's weird, because that's also not going for the people. It's distracting them from the other stuff too, but it is, we need to know these things, but that's kind of like their last card to play to try and stay, well, come through us. It almost feels like the pandemic again. Well, we've got ETs, but come through us. It's like, what? Like, that's where, to me, we're in the astrology of where somebody like Avi Loeb, whether you like him or the way you don't, these are the times where you open your mind and you still use fact. What people don't realize with Avi Loeb, he's using facts. He's not trying to make it up in his head.
No, he's driven by data.
Correct.
He does not, his mouth doesn't move unless it's supported by data.
Yeah. I mean, he's the only guy too, when something came in to our atmosphere and landed in the ocean, found the people, the money, the research, and went down there in the bottom and pick it up and see what it was. I mean, we're in a world where
That's right.
Lewis and Clark are gone. Like this is our Lewis and Clark moment. Bigger. This is us discovering what we've all wanted to discover, and this is the closest thing you could even get to. And what the best is, we get to just sit and watch the show, right? We get to watch the show and and let it guide us, right? Like let's see what it does. Because by it blowing everybody's minds, especially in the science community, because the consensus at the beginning was this is a comet, it's going to act like a comet. Well, then it had an anti-tail. That's not normal, even as an astrologer that studies comets and asteroids, right? Like, what? As an astrologer, I'm going to have to call up thousands of years of ancient modern astrologers who are dead, who've written all about comets, and be like, what do you do when the tail's facing the sun? What does that mean for the planet? It throws everything off as an astrologer, right? It's like it's like astrologers have to create new data, right? And astronomers have to create the understanding of new data. And that's where there's a nice blend. It's almost like if you can see the head of the monarch of the Great Britain come back to the Vatican, then maybe astrologers, spiritual, people that still use science and facts and the science community can come together again and start opening each other's minds the way it used to be.
The way it used to be, yeah.
And I think this is the event that does that, Here's
the other part. The skeptics that have been, attacking our community for forever, right? I truly don't give a shit. But those skeptics, if this turns out to be artificial, that this is a probe from another advanced civilization. If it turns out to be that, and I think that the odds are pointing in that direction, if I'm a betting man, I think it's ET. But if it turns out that that's what the announcement is, the Neil deGrasse Tysons of the world, the Lawrence Krauses, right, Michio Kaku, that Brian Greene, they're all going to go, well, of course. We've always said that there was life out there. All right. Now, before this, there's no way for them to get here. It's too far away. There's never been any evidence of this. You watch. It'll be, of course, there's life. What's the big deal? You watch. That'll be the response from science.
Well, and that's the irony, is because this is. If we study comets, they go around the sun. This thing also is not going around the sun. It's just passing by it. Right? It's not gaining. And so this also kind of throws, the ideas of Newton's laws of gravity out the window.
That's exactly what it does. That's exactly
right. Because now this thing isn't going to slingshot around the sun, right? It's like, I don't care. I have enough propulsion to say, nice to see you, bye-bye. And I don't need your help. And I'm on my own tour. I'm on my own tour. And how many galaxies, how many solar systems, how many suns has this thing gone by? Right? Like that, nobody could guess that one right now, right? But that's what makes this so evidentially beautiful to me, because it's like, to me, the idea of what ET is something that's doing things that's impossible in our idea of reality, especially in space and on Earth. As above, so below is the old expression. That right now, as the world's feeling like we've never felt before, as below, as above, something showing up that's never felt like or seen like anything that's been done before.
What do you make of, what's your take on the size of this object? Because now it also, aside from everything else, it's freaking huge.
Yeah, and it's heavy too. That's the other thing, right? This thing's like 33 billion tons, right? I think that's the other thing, object-wise, is like we keep seeing asteroids. Of course, exoplanets have been fun. That's been like the last 5-7 years, right? Really been like focusing on exoplanets and a lot of those, again, are a little bit more data-driven assumptions of what it is than us actually having a picture and like, look at this, right? And its movement and so forth. It's not like these exoplanets, we're watching them go around the sun. They're just drawing models up. So I think that's where, to me, I'm like, it's interesting to see that this is changing everybody, and no matter what you are to space, whether you're astrophysicist or a planetary scientist, or you're just a connoisseur and love our galaxy and the wonders of it, the attention now is interstellar, outside our existence, to the farthest places we don't know much about. But you would think that something that big wouldn't be so perfect in how it would shoot through and come so close. That means there's something it's trying to say or show or guide us towards. Or it's going to throw us way off course and change trajectory. And when we come around the Earth on the other side, is that thing coming closer to Earth? I mean, that's where this is getting really interesting. And the assumption based off looking at astronomy is when an object gets closest to the sun, that's what they're predicting, is because there's so much mass energy. Now, we've seen massive CMEs over the last couple of days leading up to this on the backside of the sun.
We're having 2 of those. Yeah, we have 2 nights of that coming up. 2 nights.
And it's just been, if they would have been Earth facing, we would have been questioning whether or not we'd have internet.
Or this show.
Right.
There's another interesting aspect of this before we head to the break. Very smart researchers looked at the trajectory and where possibly the origin or the direction out of our star system, and it pointed back to the originations of the wow signal.
Yes.
Now, how many things do we pile up on this pile of shit before we back up and go, okay, there's something else going on here? Because the wow signal and that origination, the sky's a big place. Right. And that felt a little funky to me. What do you make of that data?
I mean, I thought that was really interesting because it goes back to, I think, 1973. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's where it's like an anomaly frequency wise, with so much energy just gets set to us, and that's not normal, right? Then at the same time now with 3A Atlas, as it goes in the same freaking area, it triggers, right? Like there's frequencies, and that's what's crazy is we need to start. Science doesn't even probably have all the instruments to understand what we're looking at and hearing, or even vibrationally frequency-wise doing. I mean, I think it's great because you're a radio host for a long time. Like, I feel like we need to get everybody out there with every radio signal on to be tuning to frequencies and maybe even pushing the idea of the band farther than we've ever even thought it could go. Exactly right.
Exactly right. And what do you make of, Sagittarius? I mean, what's interesting about Sagittarius, if 3I Atlas and the wow signal both had origins out of Sagittarius, what does that tell you?
Well, I mean, the reason that's one of the most interesting, that's the Southern Cross area. And of course, the galactic center's there. The biggest sun in our whole entire Milky Way is down there.
Black hole.
Black hole. We've been, the stuff we've been seeing, that's also weird, right? As we've been discovering the black hole stuff, that's only the last couple of years where it's like,
right.
Oh, okay, right?
Right.
Now we're seeing that this thing also didn't get sucked in. Or did it come out the black hole? I mean, that's like where we start going into, maybe did it travel through the black hole, the other side? Like the white hole idea too, right?
Yeah. Expelled
data.
You know
Yeah,
what I
and
mean?
so in old astrology and ancient astrology, Sagittarius, of course, it's Jupiter's ruling over that sign, which is where we expand knowledge. And it's massive expansion. It's massive about trying to understand our wider world. It's the house of knowledge. It's the house of where it's a fire sign. It's a centaur, half man, half horse. The combination, the archer that's aiming higher in our life, but the combination of our wild nature and our human nature. And so to me, the idea of like a wow signal, a 3A atlas, it's opening us up to we're more than just this, how we see humanity today. We used to, for thousands of years, look up to humanity and the wonders of this world. And it's like, I feel like as a planet, it's like people don't believe in that anymore and believe enough. We need to, as a collective, get back together and start believing in ourselves and our awesome nature and the awesome nature that we're here to expand and learn from and go and keep seeing. I think that's the big shift of the planet that's needed. Everybody's, keeps worrying about how we're screwing it all up. I think it's more like we're screwing up by not having that awesome power of willing to seek more knowledge and to be more expansive and to even get back into that idea of just wonder about things.
Exactly.
And to,
Exactly. When I asked Lawrence Krauss, I go, dude, so what would you, Lawrence, let's just say it's artificial. Let's just go with that. And that happens. And as it cruises by us, it reaches out and says hello on the radio. You know what his answer was? Instead of like, whoa, okay, but that'd be cool. Yeah, that'd be interesting. Yeah, that would change things. He goes, why would they use radio? And I'm like, wait a minute. Is that the question you have? Instead of, yeah, they would use radio because we're the hillbillies of the universe. That makes sense. They know about our technology and, they reach out and just say, hey, we're cruising by. Yeah, it makes sense. Instead of
the solar system speaks in frequencies.
It is so
funny.
funny.
We can record the sounds of planets and what they sound like frequency-wise. They all have a different frequency. Our Earth emits frequencies. Sound frequencies. It's like everything has a frequency to it that's unique.
And that right there, that is the wonder, the ponder, the considering, the dreaming of things. You got to think outside of the box of what the possibilities can be. Don't close the box in. The academics of the world, David, they build these fences and they don't realize that building those fences, they're closing themselves in. You're not blocking the world out. The opposite happens when you choose to live your life that way. Take down those fences and let your mind go. Every great advancement in science happened because somebody did that.
Right. And even if you think about it, how is Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 communicating back with frequencies? Like, why did we put gold records on those probes? Full of our languages and music and the Beatles and all this stuff. So when my answer back to him would be like, well, why did the science community send back things that could be played on a radio out there? You know what I mean? Like, why did we do that? Because that's the one thing that for sure, if you were to think of any ET that you could communicate, our brain puts off frequencies. The Hindus have known this forever, that what we connect with from us above below is a frequencies to the top of our crown of our brains. Our brains they have to distribute so many millions of frequencies a second, all the time.
When I look at anything specific, and when I say anything, I truly mean anything. All right. Today we accept the quantum world, the quantumness, the microest of the micro. We accept that. We can't see it. You can't see it. So you have to think outside of the box about what is there. And this was argued about in the world of physics for a very long time. You go back to the ancient Greeks, and they were talking about atoms, 2,000 years ago. This isn't anything new. But that's thinking outside of the box. Penicillin, thinking outside of the box. Galileo going against the grain. Copernicus going against the grain. That's thinking outside of the box. Isaac Newton, everything he was outside of the box. Not only with math and calculus and everything, but of course, Newtonian physics and gravity, but his religious work, Hermeticism and his work in the arts, that completely just thinking outside of the box because you have an inquisitive mind. That's what we've got to get back to. And you're right. 3i Atlas gives us that opportunity, doesn't it? Think outside of the box. Let's go for it.
And it's funny because when you bring up Copernicus and Galileo, and to be so against what everybody had been ingrained in how they experienced this reality, right? But now you still have people who believe in flat Earth, and whatever. If people want to believe in that, that's fine. But 3A Atlas, explain that on a flat Earth solar system, right?
Oh, you got to go there.
Because what it does is it goes to the next level. That 3A Atlas is opening the door to more than that we're in a heliocentric, sun-centered universe for us in our solar system. It's going to open the gates to something we're probably not ready for, of the out wider than that.
I think we are.
I mean, I think we are, but you know what I mean? But when you talk about the academic community, they kind of, whether it was, string theory and all these theories of cosmology, this is bringing cosmology into the forefront massively, because it's like, nobody was actually predicting interstellar objects, right? Like that wasn't part of the cosmology. Now it is. Now it's not just there. It's also, we have Oumuamua as an asteroid that didn't act like an asteroid and self-propelled away.
It sped up, slowed down, turned.
Right.
It did everything. Yeah.
And now we have this, which is doing the opposite, but it's doing crazier things. It's going, I don't need to even use you, son, and I am going to propel without you. And I'm just cruising by, and I'm at the exact same ecliptic plane as all the planets in the sun, except for Pluto, which is kind of funny because I'll say this before your break to give people the tease. We're in a rare moment of Pluto. It just went in declination out of bounds, past 23.5 degrees. Now, in history, when this happens, this is usually where we see this kind of dystopian nightmare of our governments that we're seeing right now. And people kind of freak out. The irony, though, is that this pattern is about to break and go over 1,000 years without Pluto going out of bounds. But when Pluto goes out of bounds, so it did back in 1777 into 78 during the Revolutionary War. That was like, and then it did when we saw and found Pluto. It was like in the mid-30s, we saw it go out of bounds in the sign of Cancer, where actually, ironically, the same spot 3A Atlas is going to end up by the time we get to January and February. But now is our last time of seeing it right now. And then 1,000 years, it's not going to do it. And what's interesting is that Pluto is not a planet by these people anymore. Yet they're so obsessed, they took pictures of it in 2018. And I think it was just because they thought it was going to be the planet X and the biggest planet in 1930 when they took the picture. And then every decade it got smaller and smaller and smaller. So they kind of were like, oh, we live in a world where who has the biggest SUV? Who has the biggest feet? Right? But what's crazy is that Pluto, you could track it, and that's where the events really of the world shift. For it to be out of bounds right now in a very rare moment, it's kind of weird because it just went out of bounds like a month and a half ago. And that's really when people started paying more attention.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is a really extremely astrological rare window where when it's super south in declination and it's just come out of the bounds, we call that when we look at declinations, especially if we're looking whether it's tropically or whether you're looking at heliocentrically or geocentrically, is this, and the moon does it, it can go out of bounds when it's in the north and the south, right? Especially in the areas like we see, but Pluto does it when it gets to where it's at right now. And every time, so whether it was 1533, whether it was 1777, 1778, or 2025, when it does this little blip, the world changes in dramatic ways. And in this little blip, the world's starting to change with this thing that's showing up.
Absolutely amazing. David, you stay right there. Our guest tonight, the Leo King, the one and only David Palmer is with us. We're talking about, well, his take on 3i Atlas, but cosmology, astrology, and where we are right now as Earthlings. David, you stay right there. I am your host, Jimmy Church. We'll be right back after this short break. Stay with us. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to get your alerts and access to over 2,000 videos. Click that subscribe button right now. Go to jimmychurchradio.com and get the Fade to Black official podcast. 2,000 episodes, all of them commercial free for just $2 a month. Watch Into the Vortex on Gaia TV. It's Fade to Black for the screen. Simple to do. Go to Gaia.com, search Jimmy Church, or click on the link below. Follow Fade to Black on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Get all of the show updates every single day. It's now called X, but who cares? How you doing? Jimmy Church here. Special announcement. Get your Fade to Black t-shirts. That's right. Help support the show. Help support everything that we do over here. We've got 2 t-shirts. We've got 2 ways to get them. Get your Fade to Black t-shirt today. Go Backley Tappy. Go to jimmychurchradio.com and become a Fadernaut. Get a membership. That's right. Everything is commercial free. You have access to downloads, and you get to call yourself a Fadernaut. Jimmy Church, Gaia TV, Fade to Black, here at Machu Picchu with Brian Forster and Hidden Inca Tours. Amazing tour so far, Brian, but we're here to announce what we're going to do next year in 2026. What's going on?
Okay, November 2026, we're going to have our major tour of Peru and Bolivia, either a pre or post tour of Paracas and Nazca on the coast. And then after that, 6 days in Easter Island.
Bucket list, Easter Island. Come join Brian and I and his amazing team here at Hidden Inca Tours for Peru, Bolivia, and Easter Island. Signing out. Say goodbye, Brian.
Bye, gang.
River Moon Coffee, makers of the Fade to Black blend. Truly the best coffee on planet Earth. Just visit rivermoonwellness.com or their Amazon store. It's all simple to do. You can check out the Fade to Black blend, the Game Changer blend, or any of their Black Moon Wellness products. It's the only coffee I drink. It is the best, and it's Doc. Again, rivermoonwellness.com. right. Welcome back, Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, the Leo King, David Palmer, is with us, talking about, well, cosmology, astrology, history, and of course, 3-Eye Atlas. And David, let me ask you this. We all feel and are experiencing the craziest shit like ever in the history of the earth, and it's all happening right now at the same time. It's truly nuts. And then we have this happening at the same time. Why?
Well, I've been on your show a lot over the last 4 or 5 years. And, you know, a lot of astrologers have pointed to this moment, the fall 2025 into 2026, as where we reach. Some call it whatever they want. I like to say that we've reached the maximum of amount of energy that we could handle. And right when we think we've reached that, something's going to come and just pop the lid off it all, right? Like we're at critical mass energetically. So the last time we saw this with the planets was back in the 14th century. And this is where conjunctional astrology began. And that was how they predicted like the Black Plague. When you saw all these planets come together and form stelliums. So 2020 was about stelliums. Another way to look at it, if I were to have you look at the planet sometime heliocentrically, for the last 5 years, all the planets at certain times of the year all of them are on one side, less than 180 degrees of the whole entire zodiac. So that puts it in perspective. That like right now, it's only Mars and Venus that are kind of by themselves on the other side. Okay. But when you get all the planets on one half of the zodiac and there's not one planet on the other side, it feels lopsided. It's unbalanced. It feels there's too much energy. So the idea of like the wow signal, but with planets, right? They're all together. And so it becomes really concentrated and it concentrates just on all these areas. And what happens is it feels like there's a void. There's an emptiness that we're all trying to understand, look at, view, and that there's nothing holding any space in such a wide area of space. From a planetary point of view, that's pretty wild if you think about it, because the planets all have very different timings in their orbit by Earth years that we gauge it in. But for these rare moments to where all the planets form and hang out next to each other and year by year are all so close together where there's even times where it's only within 120 degrees, every planet, including the outer planets, have been next to each other. And those move slow. So you have to remember, it's like, wow, that's rare. We're in a rare moment. Well, that's popped up again. But 2026 is going to be to where we're not going to be seeing that anymore in the summer. So, of course, this is happening. When I was talking about planets going out of bounds and declination, so if you think about it, what makes a lunar eclipse or a solar eclipse is that when we see it as a total, there is no difference. They're exact in the opposition or in the conjunction to block the sun on a new moon solar eclipse or on a lunar eclipse to be exact. So there's no variation in the declination because of right of ascension. When you're dealing with the Earth and when you're looking at it from, okay, we know the spaces of the vernal equinoxes, we know the spaces of the solstices. We also know our ecliptic, where we see the planets and we see fixed stars. What can happen, though, is some planets, the moon is the best, for example. It's not a planet, it's a moon. It's the only object that can go past 23 degrees up to 6+ degrees more. And so for what makes it unique about eclipses is the moon is perfectly in harmony in the exact, not just degree, but also the declination and the plane to be able to be that way. So
and
when you
its
get a
size, and its size is
correct, and its size changes based off the equinoxes and the timing and all that stuff, right? So we're at a moment out of Pluto's orbit around the sun, only 10% of that 248 years does it go out of bounds of the time. And it only does that when we experienced the 1930s, when we found Pluto, when it came up. So what's interesting is we couldn't see Pluto because it wasn't even close to planetary understanding of when we're looking at it from the planetary plane from the sun, right? In the ecliptic plane. Because it came from south and finally hit the north in 1930, we were able to take a picture of it and found it. In 2018, the reason why they took pictures is because it's going into the underworld, and our telescopes, nothing's going to be able to take pictures of it. It goes too far south. But when it goes out of bounds now, that's where the planets kind of act like defiant, alone. Like, I'm going to go do what I want. Now, some planets don't go out of bounds. Like Saturn hasn't gone out of bounds in thousands of years, right? Neptune hasn't gone out of bounds either. So there's some planets that don't do it, but they used to when you do the math going thousands of years back. For the fact that Pluto is going to stop going out of bounds, so if it's 248 years around the sun and it's going to spend the next 1,000 years not doing that, that's 5 to 4 rotations around the sun where it's not going to do 10% out of bounds. So that's an anomaly of the math shifting. Something's changing. On top of that, the last 5.5 years, you've seen, actually it's been really 2018, but really coming into 2019, 2020 is where it was like, man, all the planets are just in one spot. And that's why it felt like forever to get out of the whole pandemic idea, right? Just because everything's going to take time to spread apart again and move and open around the whole entire solar system again to where it's filled back up because everything's been so condensed. So I would say if you look at it planetary-wise, solar system-wise, we have anomalies happening more than you can calculate. So when I looked at 3A Atlas and I did the math, and then when I heard Avi Loeb say and reflect as an astrologer or an astronomer that would be obsessed with like the planets and their orbits, for this thing to come the way it has at the same plane, blew my mind. That I heard him say that because that was what I was thinking in my head. Like, this is, right. You don't see this. And that's, I think, the clearest indicator of that this being ET, that. Because the natural bodies of however the solar system came together, we don't have the cosmology to know that. We don't know if it's a Big Bang for sure. We don't know crap about it. But we do at least know the facts that are always happening, that the ancients recorded and that our scientists today still don't dispute. This throws all that to where this is something different and new, and nothing has ever been seen like this. Because even the placement of where it came from.
I always ask you this question, but it's probably more important now than ever. Is Vedic and Western astrology saying the same things right now?
I mean, I would have to, I listen to a couple of Vedic astrologers. I mean, we're just looking at the planets differently, right? Tropically or sidereal. So there's another 23 degree just change where the planets are 23 degrees backwards, because all sidereal astrology is like, if you look at where the equinox is, where we start the spring, and you were to look at the backdrop of constellation-wise, you see a 23-degree precession of the equinoxes, right? So the equinoxes precess. So if you were to go 2,000 years ago, when you were around March 21st, yeah, it was the beginning of Aries, but the precession's been going on because of the wobble of the Earth, right? So Vedic astrology, though, is different. They don't include outer planets. They don't take in new objects. So you have to follow what the Sanskrit said by astrologers that were ancient thousands of years ago, and you're not allowed to break. So it's kind of like religion to me, Vedic astrology, because nobody's allowed to change it. Where Western astrology is the correct term, we love advancement. We love science. We love what's happening in the cosmos, what's happening with an asteroid, what's happening with all these asteroids, because we've been finding lots of asteroids around us that are revolving around the sun, and we're tracking them as astrologers, and astronomers are tracking them, and we're including them as bodies. And so, that's where it's hard for, I think, a Vedic astrologer to really go into this without it being just prophecy stuff like the Kali Yugas, and kind of thinking it more like time-wise, but they're not like looking specifically at certain things. They do have a prophecy, though, about a great comet that comes with like 3 different tails and different colors, and like that's the end times. But don't quote me as that being the exact verbatim Sanskrit Vedic version, but that's my translation for you.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But to me, if you're not going to include, there's no Vedic astrologers bringing up 3 Atlas because they're not allowed to bring in anything new. Plus, they use really old charts as far as they don't really get obsessed with precise degrees, declinations, and the terms that are actually used in astronomy. They're using really old charts, and they're more into the whole house system. So if something's
they
a
are
sign,
I have 2 Vedic astrologers that are friends of yours that I consult with a lot, and usually, and I'm going to say this very candidly, very spot on.
very much. I'm not trying to. I hope people know I'm not talking crap on it, because actually I love Vedic astrology. But
I'm not either. And then I go with my other friends out there that do Western, like yourself, and I feel the same accuracy. It's really, really weird how the data is pulled out, where the data is the same, but looking at the sources and the causality come from 2 different places, but pretty spot on. I'm fascinated with astrology. A good astrologer is just amazing. Just amazing if you track it. And you know what I have on my phone here, I'll show everybody. Let me pull this up. You know what? Come on, go away. Can you see it? Yeah.
Yeah. An Apple, that is exactly where it is. Like where Saturn and Neptune are about to meet, that hasn't happened since 89, but it hasn't happened there since 4361 BC.
And I look at this every day, and you would think, well, it doesn't change. Oh, it does. Mm-hmm. And David's right, especially in the early 2020s, where everything was grouped right here. All the planets were right there, and it was.
And if you look, and you could even run it on, I think it's called Sky. I had it up earlier. Yeah, the Sky Live, and they have the 3i Atlas 3D chart. You could type in the date, January 12th, 2020, the date Saturn Pluto met, and that was the moment where COVID, they released the Chinese released, this is COVID, right? Like the whole, whatever it's called, the genome, right?
Right.
And that's also when we all started being like, what's going to happen? And that, as astrologers that were pretty good with prediction, we were all like, yeah, watch out for January 12th, 2020. I was saying it for many years. January, that's the date that the world will change. The plague's coming. Weird stuff like that. 3 Atlas was right there. So as it shifted over the last 5 years to get into the very beginning, the end of Sagittarius, tropically, to come in, it was with Saturn, Pluto, and that whole group of planets, and the exact alignment with the sun, Earth. There was a lunar eclipse, Mercury, Saturn, Pluto, Ceres, and now 3i Atlas. I couldn't believe it. I was like, my mind blew. I was like, gee, okay.
Guess who's in the chat? I just looked.
Who?
Esperanza.
What's up?
So David and Esperanza texted me a picture of them hanging out.
I know, it's crazy. She came up and she told me, she's like, oh, I love Jimmy. I know him. I know that you guys are friends. Will you take this pic and send it to him? I'm like, hell yeah, I will.
I was like, man, you guys. But yeah, she's in the chat. She says hello. And she's amazing too, as well.
She's a great astrologer.
Woo,
oh my gosh.
Whoo. She's really good. So I'm going to ask you some direct things.
Please.
And I've been meaning to do that. I think it's all important for us to have an understanding about what is going on. Is there, I do understand what you're saying. Sometimes we have to go to the edge of the cliff and take a peek and see where we are at and into the unknown, right? And it's a harsh thing to do, but we all have to do it, where you're in the dark and you got your foot out, right? In the dark, and you feel the edge of the cliff and you're like, shit, it's right here. It's right. Well, I think we all know that that's kind of where we are right now. What is the immediacy of this? Are we going to take a pretty fast corner here as things clean up, or is 2026 going to be one of those things where we have to ride this out for quite a long time? I mean, what's the immediate outlook?
I don't want to sound cheesy, but it's going to go very positive. One, usually I'm always like, we need to watch out. I'm here now saying we've reached the place where, hey, don't be too scared, because actually it's going to go good.
Yeah, you never hold back. You never hold back.
But this idea of like a new world, okay? Now, I know it's thrown the spiritual community around. Even John D. threw it around during the last golden age that Elizabeth threw, right? Okay? But really, on your phone, you can see Saturn and Neptune are the last of these big planets to conjunct, okay? Over the last 6 years that'll be coming up since 2020. But they're going to meet at 0 Aries, which is the start of the whole astrological chart. Religions based their Passover, Easter, all based off that beginning spot. We even base in science and astronomy. That's the vernal equinox spot, and that's how we gauge different zodiacal understandings, right? Or even on Earth, the seasons changing. The fact that Saturn and Neptune haven't met there since 4,361 BC, that's prehistoric history. But what they found, and they found it in 2016, I had to do the history to find like what was going on then. They thought it was just hunter-gatherers just started, but it was the beginning of migrations. Then they found in like Serbia, the Varna gold. So after Darwin came out with his theories, right? The idea of evolution, and especially the hunter-gatherers, they thought, yeah, they just cook and eat and they just throw spears and whatever. But then they found this very rare finding where there was this guy buried with gold more than the Egyptian pharaohs had. Right? You should look it up sometime. Varna gold, like,
yeah, and crazy. Yeah.
Okay. And it blew all of the archaeology's understanding of, one, there was no mining of it, right? So there was no mining operation. Two, this guy's wearing it, and even like on his skull, like where his third eye is, he's wearing like more than any rapper, more than any pharaoh. Like the dude's like become like wannabe Trump and trying to overdo the gold at the White House. You know what I mean? Like it's just too much. It's not a good look. But it was kind of weird because the other human tribes around prehistoric history that they've searched was nobody else had gold either. So like why did this matter? Because it's like, where did he get the gold? Why were all these people migrating and this was the beginning also of people coming together to start agriculture, ironically. And so why did this guy just have all the gold and is like, he even like looks in his grave as if he was like, you need to serve me? Or was he trying to like maybe serve, because prehistory after that, good luck having a history book or anybody give you the real history of those times prior. That's a void. That's a cliff that's an empty void, right? Where it's like the history's not really written and there's not much we could find. There he is right there.
That's insane.
Right? That's 6,500 years ago.
That's crazy.
So that was the one historical, I'm an astrologer. So I go, okay, the last time the planets met in this spot, what happened? I've never had to go to where I'm like desperately searching to find something. Because when you get that far back, it's really difficult. And also verifiable, right? I don't want to go off some story. I don't want to go off, well, maybe it was written on a tablet, but we don't know. Did somebody just make that? Because there's a lot of that stuff happening. No, that's a real skull, real gold. Doesn't make sense. The other thing was, that was where they started realizing which DNA, the idea of the different races of humans, that's where they started from the bones of the exact same time period defining the different races of human beings on the planet, is from that period that they look at archaeologically. Because that's, for some reason, humans decided to start moving around. So the idea of a new world to me is kind of like, what happened prior to that? Somebody said, all right, you humans, go out and explore your little new habitat. And by the way, this guy's in charge with all the gold we gave him. I'm not saying that's true. But the irony about what's about to happen is a new idea of the world and what it is. So to me, if 3A Atlas makes a turn, does something different, our idea about the world is going to change forever. Everybody's idea of the world, right? So that's where, to me, it's like the next 90 days into 120 is the actual conjunction on February 20th. But a lot of stuff's happening here that's ending thousands of years of cycles and beginning a completely new one that's been 6,500 years in the making. And so to me, it's like these last days, and it's ironic if you follow 3A Atlas and the math is for at this moment that we know of, it gets the most spectacular, in my opinion, as an astrologer, to be able to have a telescope see it, by also it passing by Jupiter, just like it's doing with Mars, and actually go to where the pyramids point to and everything, and us have an amazing view. And there's so many planetary alignments that are exact in the solar system with 3A Atlas at that time period coming in January, that's literally right before we go into that big transit. That's the last one that kicks off this idea of what is this new world? That it's too perfect synchronicity-wise, that obviously 3A Atlas is a message that's going to be brought to us, whatever it's doing or whatever it points to, and then we see something because we're looking at it and we see something else. Whatever it is, it's part of this new vibe that's coming that will take us out of the beginning of migrations and the world we've lived for 6,500 years. Because I feel like we've come to the end point of like what the story was for humanity. That's why people feel like it's so crazy.
Right.
And what's missing is the new story and the wider story that has tons for us to fill in. The idea that we think that we're done is just stupid, in my opinion. No, we're done with the old kind of story. It's time for us to evolve to the next level. And I feel like the astrology now says it's time for us to really define, who are we? Where did humans come from? Are we from this earth or not? What are we?
Don't you think For me, and I'm ready.
And because if
I'm
you look
ready.
at the history,
David,
why did humans around the globe at the time, which was less than 100,000 people, why did these people just all at the same time get the same message to start migrating and start connecting and moving around?
Right.
Why? Like they can't describe that.
Well, I'm ready.
So they got a signal.
I'm ready. No, I'm
but
ready.
there's
I'm
no
ready.
recorded of like it was an interstellar object or a supernova. But maybe there was something that augmented it.
Sure.
Or something that got them to all move at the same time.
That's all they did was look to the stars. That was their 100.
That's what we're coming into, is like something that gets us all to move in a different viewpoint.
Well, could it be, and I think that we're ready for this, and this isn't a drastic, controversial thing to say. It gives us the opportunity for real as earthlings to step back and go, okay, there's a lot of bullshit going on this planet. The stuff that should not be going on. It's time to grow up. You know, do you see that? I see that as an opportunity. Okay, David, you just changed cameras. Oh, you can't hear me now. Go back to your old camera. He can't hear me. David, go back to the old David, go back to the old camera. He's trying to change. See, he's trying to be me. He wants to be me where I can do all of these fancy things, but he just changed cameras and he's lost his audio. David, what did you do? It's almost like what did you do? Switch back. Does anybody there? Now he's back.
I don't know what happened, but I lost audio from you.
Yeah. And it looked like you were in a different shirt. That was a timeline, time shift, time loop. Can you hear me? Do 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 do. And now, if anybody was, can you hear me? No, he can't. If anybody would ever wonder if this show is live, now they know. David, you've got to switch back your audio. See, David's really, he's a tech, his studio is gorgeous.
I can't hear anything.
No. Nope. And nothing, I haven't touched anything. David, he's got this amazing studio. And let me see here. No, everybody can hear me, right? David, switch back your audio. Oh, he's leaving and coming back in. All right. I'll keep everybody posted. This is what one of the things, I'm cleaning this up, waiting for him to come back in, is this. Just look into my eyes when I say this. This show is live. This show is never taped. The edge that you get from doing a live show, doing a tape show and edit, and people put out the podcast. What, you know, okay, all right, there's a time and a place for that. This is live. And there's an edge that you get with that. I have taped maybe 2 or 3 shows over the years. I had to because the guests just couldn't do it, and we had to fit into their window. David, can you hear me? Nod your head. David, Can you hear me now? You can't hear me?
I can't hear you for some reason. It just
Oh,
won't
okay.
on any
Now
speaker pop
you
up.
have, you have.
Oh, okay. I got you.
Okay, you have reset. Okay, you've muted your microphone. Unmute your microphone. No, unmute it from your end. Okay, now talk. Okay, so this is what's going on, David. Tap on your microphone like this. It's off. Okay, so down at the bottom of the screen on the settings, that sprocket, you've got to reselect your.
I got it.
Okay, now we're good. Now you can hear me.
Yep. I don't know
Okay.
what that was. The 3i Atlas was sending a wow signal to me.
With your big highbrow studio with all your black magic Neumann microphone, camera, lenses, assistants.
That's never happened to me, and I'm on Ethernet too.
Oh man. So but back to this, and I think it's an important point that with everybody, and I'm not planting a flag here. We all feel the pressure. We're all seeing it. It doesn't matter what country you're in, what belief system you're in, what political thing you're in, what job, your family, your marriage. It doesn't matter. Everybody is feeling it, seeing it. The media is taking advantage of it. Social media is taking advantage of it. People are in their bubbles, but also they are feeling it directly all the way back into their homes. This isn't something that is just on TV and doesn't affect you. Everybody is affected by this. And then you throw in the astrological part of this, and that component is this pressure and this energy going to pass, and it's their hope. Instead of everybody being locked into fear and getting their emotions involved, they need to understand that there's something else going on. And I think that 3i Atlas gives us an opportunity to rethink directly who we are and what we want to do with our own future. That's what I think 3i Atlas presents to us.
Very much. I don't know when I lost you, but I was saying that we've just reached the end of this story of humanity. It's this new story now, the wider story. It's almost like we're kind of saying goodbye to the prehistoric version of humanity we don't know much about. And now it's about to find out the answers of what humanity actually is and really define it. We've never defined what humanity is.
No, you know what? And you know what we do? I'm glad that we have the ability to think like this. We look at if there is an advanced civilization out there on a planet, and we look at all those hypotheticals. You know what we do that we don't do with us? Say the planet is called Apple, Planet Orange, Planet Pineapple. Those are the people of Planet Apple. We're not looking at their religious lines, the boundaries, the thing. No, they are. That's it. And here, ET looking at us is going to look at imaginary borders, imaginary political systems, and hatred, and happiness, and religious backgrounds, and this. How we are still primitively divided as a planet. We are not Earthlings.
No,
we don't.
I mean, Ronald Reagan's UN speech in '88 might just be correct, but maybe not in a war, but just the idea of ET bringing us all together.
We used to have that as the foundation and the fabric of the United States.
Right.
That we were all different. And the beauty of this, that we would have 100 different countries bringing in immigrants and 200 different religions.
Free trade,
languages. And that's what made this country great. right? And that we are all Americans, and that all of that else. That's what we need to do now with planet Earth. And
Very
maybe
much.
3i Atlas is that catalyst, man. Maybe
Yeah.
history will look back and we'll go, man, it was 3i Atlases when we turned the page.
Yeah, because you can't hear another debate that's gonna shift some people,
Change things. Yeah.
right? It's like the same patterns. Really, orbits of planets are patterns, and 3A Atlas is a pattern disruptor. So if you think of it astrologically, the patterns of Mars every 2 years, the patterns of Venus, right? She goes around really fast, faster than Earth. But she only retrogrades, right? Where we see her cross in front of us every 18 months, right? That's the moment what we call, of course, the Venus retrograde every 18 months, but it's really just Venus passing Earth. These are patterns that we see. And then we see Venus do that in the same place every 8 years. We could do the planetary thing all day, but with a pattern disruptor coming through, that means on Earth, the pattern, something has to be extraterrestrial, which is technically the term. Terrestrials here on this planet.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes people forget the basics. These are words that have been used for thousands of years. We describe, people didn't used to call this place Earth all day. It was the terrestrial or Terra. Like that was more commonly used than what we say today. Oh, I live on Earth, that's kind of more new. But our ancestors used, right? The understanding of the terrestrial. You're on the terrestrial plane. And I think the only thing that can shift that, as above, so below, is a pattern disruptor above.
Wouldn't it be cool? Wouldn't it be cool if 3i Atlas just pumped the brakes, made a U-turn, and came back to Earth and just parked? Holy shit! Right? I mean, how cool! I was talking all weekend. My phone blowing up on 3i Atlas, and all of my friends, want to talk about it, and I totally get that, and they want my opinion. Well, David, I've told everybody the same thing. I think it's ET. I truly do.
I do
I
too.
think this is a big, big moment. It's like what if it turns out to be a comet? I just don't think it is. I don't.
No.
I would love for it to have 3 comets at the same time. Yeah, that's great. But I just don't think 3i Atlas is a comet. I just don't. And this whole thing lately, and I don't know what to do about the different rumors and the things that are happening, because you don't know if these are leaks from the inside. You don't know what is, but that it's beaming a radio signal now, and there's
I know. Well,
it's hollow, and I
that's why I follow the science. And then for me, I mean, people could do it on their own and go to JPL and run it on their terminal and put it in, and then whichever system you want to run it in, as far as like from a helio perspective and where is it going to be. For me, of course, I was the astrologer who put it in as a geocentric tropical system to let people know where it's at and to show how we look at planets, where it's going, because it's on the same plane, and to give people a different viewpoint of it. Like, I think people have to just kind of like, all the tools are out there. They're not even that hard. It took me 10 minutes. Like, it was just like, oh, JPL, okay, run in your terminal, and then just like put in the object number, okay, and then what do you want? How many years? How many months? Which date? Boom. And so for me, I do my own little investigations, and I go, okay, it'll get busy around this time. I said way back in August, I told everybody, yeah, this thing will get really hot when it goes right over Mars, because it's going to be, from Earth's point of view, Mars conjunct 3A Atlas. And I'm like, that's when it's going to get hot. People are going to start, what's this? And that's right when it happened. Really started getting hot. Now I'm telling people that it's going to get, to me, more hot the end of this year than even this week. I think this week might make people feel, oh, maybe we don't know, or we haven't seen anything yet. I mean, it's on the other side of the sun. I'm not saying that nothing won't happen, but it's more like where it's going, the aspects it's making are astronomically almost impossible, and everything aligning with it in such a way that when we're getting around the holidays into the new year, that is when our minds are going to be blown.
What do you think we have the capability to get real imaging?
I think we do. I just think that they I just find it really odd that at first the science community kind of was like, I mean, thank God there's a guy like Avi Loeb picking up the phone and calling every single person and governments and everything and saying, get whatever you got on this thing. I mean, that you got to be a mover and shaker to make things happen. But now that, the traditional idea that it was a comet has kind of been blown out of the water, now you're actually getting people who have always stayed in their lane going, okay, I want to see what happens. And that's how you know it's different. That people with Oumuamua didn't want to even believe, right? Like it's emitting light every 8 hours because it's spinning, and that means it's a flat surface reflecting the sun, right? Those little things, they didn't want to get into that. But this one, they're like, well, it ain't. The main thing is that we were able to see it farther out than what you can see a comet, right? Like past Jupiter's orbit. That's crazy. That means it's not a comet, because it takes the sun to be able to drive the visibility of a comet and to create the pressure and to burn off what's on the comet. And it has to use the gravity of the sun in order to even be there. So like the comet Swan that's here right now, that's 650-year transit for that comet to come by the sun. Ironically, as 3A Atlas is here 650 years later, since it came by the sun, it's at the same time. That's
strange.
One of the comments.
I know. I just feel that the questions that have been raised by everybody on both sides, it doesn't matter, same questions are there. Well, those questions are about to get answered in 48 hours, right? It's going to be Wednesday and Thursday. Big things are going to be answered. And I don't know how the scientific community is going to deal with it. Again, always data-driven and fact-driven, but then what do you do when those facts go against your foundations and your cognitive dissonance and what drives you and what you don't want to see? You don't want to have your belief system and your faith in the math that you have in astronomy, right? And cosmology.
No, and I mean that's what happened. That's what happened with Galileo. That's what happened with Copernicus. But it even happened during the Great Schism, right? We're not going to talk about it, even though it's in front of people's faces as we're schisming as a church. I think that's the problem. Is it not just in the science community of faith, but faith in religions and so forth, because if it's going to throw Newton's law of relativity, especially with planets, out the window, as far as like that not everything follows the same math, right? Doesn't mean that he's wrong when it comes to certain planetary objects or things in our solar system, but it just means that there are things that could throw that off.
Right.
It's the same way in religions or anything like that, because it starts bringing things farther out than we're commonly known to know, and questions about our origins or what was here before us, or were we here before them, or all those things. And unfortunately, the scary part is people that hold on too tight get really scared of losing their faith, and that's where things get shaky. And I think that's what we're seeing in our government today, and that's why it's like all aligning very religious when it was never supposed to. You know, and I think that's why we're seeing all the church stuff happen at the same time. And that's kind of
It's
right.
all happening at the same time. That's
Yeah,
the crazy part, man. It's like, you check the news every 2 minutes to see what other crazy ass shit has gone down. Not every day. It's like by the minute right now. And you know what this reminds me of, and I'll wrap up on this. This is nearly page for page, word for word, Arthur C. Clarke's Rama books.
right. Oh yeah. I mean,
It's spot on. Rama, right? Rama, the gardens of Rama, all of the and how Rama appeared and how it was tracked and what it did and its speed and its size and where it came from and its trajectory. It was interstellar. All of it is just like Arthur wrote about, except for we don't know if we're in the second half of the books yet, right? But
yeah.
the first book was about this object approaching and coming into our star system, and what it's doing and what our thoughts were behind it, because we weren't in communication with it. And that was, I think the Rama ship was half the size of what this object is. But it's weird how it's playing out the same way, and how the world is reacting and how the governments are reacting, and science. It's all just like page for page out of the Rama books from Arthur C.
Yeah.
Clarke.
Or he was like the narrator, but he was part of the project of Colors of Infinity in the 80s, where they were looking at trying to understand visually what infinity meant.
Right.
And that's when they came up with the Mandelbrot set. You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And Arthur C. Clarke was part of that. And the Colors of Infinity and being able to see that nature isn't built in any geometry at all, right? That things that are human or not human, meaning have intelligence that's physical in some form, that nature itself, there is no degree angle for a tree, right? Every tree is unique and different. Doesn't build in straight lines. The idea that God doesn't build in straight lines really is what they proved. But so the idea of where you get Oumuamua and the idea that, oh, it's got a flat surface, that's not natural, comes from that verified science through the Colors of Infinity, the Mandelbrot set. And Arthur C. Clarke was part of that. It's like I used to be on acid and watch that thing all the time, dude. It was it blew my mind, every time. But that's where we're at, because this is not something that would be in the Mandelbrot set that would make sense. It's not natural. It's not organic. That organic life just connects and flows, and it also is infinity. As you see, it looks like a Buddha, the Mandelbrot set, remember? And you just keep zooming in, and then you see all the it's fractal geometry is the technical term, and how fractal geometry just keeps
forever
and forever. But things that we build or create don't do that, because it couldn't. And so the way that this thing's acting is unnatural. And that means it's not, and then Terence McKenna was part of that. And Terence McKenna said, through all of his experiences in the jungle and at the end of his life, that the message that the mushrooms told him at the end was that when we are about to go to the stars, that the crazy things with authoritarianism, fascism, the hunger, world hunger, wars, and people and the planet acting so crazy is a civilization of humans ready to go to the stars. That's like one of his last big messages to the world. I don't know if you remember that.
I do.
And that's what it feels like right now.
It's strange that you brought that up, because I thought about Terrence all weekend.
Really?
I haven't thought about him in a while. And there are reasons why I jumped into that, but I just went and, followed up on some stuff, and I've got a bunch of his material. and I went and checked it out. And then tonight you bring up Terrence McKenna.
And
I
it's
just
weird
love
because
the
Arthur D. Clarke, because he was doing time wave zero at that time, and he was able to prove through his using the fractal geometry and the I Ching 2012 and go, this is when it's going to begin, right? And that timed with the Mayan calendar stuff.
Yep.
And he wasn't using the Mayan calendar. That's what was crazy. And that's all in the same documentary about fractal geometry and the mandala set. So it's like, and then he was like, after 2012 is where the window opens because we hit, it's like a 0 point, right? A critical mass point. And if you've just seen where we've been with the space technology since 2012 and where we're at from there just to now, oh my gosh, to even be able to see this, or just the pictures they just verified in the 50s when we didn't have anything up. Nobody had anything up. The Germans, of course, are done, right? But the Russians didn't have anything up. And there's lights in the sky that they finally have released the pictures of. I'm sure you already reported on this recently, from the late 40s and the 50s, that they have pictures of all these lights that don't make sense, that shouldn't be there.
Well, we're right on the edge, man. This is an exciting week. High Vibe TV, which the links are below and also up in the chat. And then, of course, the leoking.com. The links are up in the chat. David.
Or hypergate.ai. That's I built the astrology AI finally. It's so badass.
Hypergate.ai. Hypergate.ai. Bill, Jessica, John, get that up in the chat for everybody. Thank you so much, David. All my best to you and your family.
Thanks, brother.
And I really enjoy calling you Dad. All right. And keep
Thanks,
doing
Dad.
your thing. You're the best.
I guess I'll go get you that dark horse now, Dad. Thanks.
You've got my address. I'll talk to you.
All right. Thanks, man.
David Palmer, the best. Love you, brother.
Love you.
David Palmer. Now, his links are below. What a perfect show and a great way to start off this week. It's crazy. It is going down here worldwide this week. Of course, October 29th is when 3i Atlas achieves its moment of exposure to us in this world as it comes around from the back of the sun and reaches perihelion. It's going to be incredible. It's an incredible week. I want to remind everybody tomorrow night, it is Halloween week this week. Tomorrow night, Brooke Ashley is here. We're going to be talking about, she's a psychic medium, and we're going to be talking tomorrow night not only about that, but the history of Halloween. All of that and much more tomorrow night here on Fade to Black. But for now, all I've got is Go Back Lee Tap. Fade to Black is produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee Newman, and Michelle Freed. Special thanks to Bill, John, Dex, Jessica, Dennis, and Kevin. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music by Doug Aldrich. Intro, Space Boy. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network. This broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2024 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network, Inc. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Go back, Lee Tappy.